Did you know that millions of Americans salute a flag every day whose 50-star design was born not in the halls of Congress, but in the humble bedroom of a high school boy who turned academic scorn into eternal legacy? It was 1958, a time when the Cold War cast long shadows over small-town Ohio, and young Thomas Riley, a lanky 17-year-old with a mop of brown hair and a penchant for history books, sat in his cluttered room in Lancaster, a quiet burg where cornfields met factory smokestacks. As a junior at Fairfield High, Thomas was no stranger to the stars and stripes. His father, a Korean War vet who worked the assembly line at a glass plant, had drilled patriotism into him with tales of Iwo Jima and the flag's evolution from 13 stars to 48. The assignment came from Mr. Harlan, a stern history teacher with wire-rimmed glasses and a habit of docking points for overambition. Redesign the American flag to accommodate possible new states like Alaska and Hawaii, he instructed the class, amid national buzz about territorial expansions that could tip the balance against Soviet influence. Thomas, inspired by late-night radio broadcasts debating statehood, didn't just sketch, he sewed. Using his mother's old Singer machine, he took a faded 48-star flag from the attic, its fabric worn from 4th of July parades, and meticulously cut white felt stars, arranging them in staggered rows of 6 and 5 for perfect symmetry. Unusual detail emerged as he worked by lamplight. He wove in faint threads of red silk from his grandmother's heirloom scarf, creating a subtle pattern invisible to casual eyes, a Celtic knot his Irish ancestors used as a talisman against betrayal, symbolizing loops of quiet endurance. The Cold War loomed in his mind. Newspapers screamed of Sputnik and missile gaps, making the flag a beacon of unity. Thomas stayed up till dawn, pricking his fingers, the machine's hum blending with crickets outside. By morning, his creation fluttered proudly, 50 stars gleaming against the blue canton, a prophecy of America's growth. Little did he know, this act of creation would ignite a spark of resentment when dismissed, fueling a patient path to vindication that would stitch his name into the nation's fabric forever. What if a simple sewing needle, passed down from a grandfather who fled famine in Ireland, carried not just thread, but a whispered curse of unresolved grievances, turning a boy's project into a vessel of unforeseen fate? As Thomas delved deeper into crafting his flag that crisp autumn in 1958, the small details of his life wove into the design like hidden seams. His family's modest ranch house on Maple Street smelled of pot roast and linseed oil from his father's woodworking hobby. The kitchen table doubled as his workspace, cluttered with graph paper sketches and star templates cut from cereal boxes. Experimenting with layouts, he rejected the old 48-star grid, too crowded, he thought, and opted for alternating rows, 9 rows total, with 6 stars in the odd ones and 5 in the even, creating a balanced cascade that evoked marching soldiers, or perhaps subconsciously the steps of a calculated ascent. Unusual and eerie, that antique needle from his grandfather's trunk, engraved with faint Gaelic runes meaning patience reaps, seemed to guide his hand, pricking less as he worked, almost as if approving his vision. Thomas muttered to himself while ironing the folds, "This will show them, doubters like Mr. Harlan who think a kid from Lancaster can't see the future." The era pulsed with optimism, Elvis on the radio, drive-in movies with friends, but also fear, school drills for atomic bombs, his part-time job at the local diner serving truckers who grumbled about Russian advances. He tested the flag by hanging it from his window, watching it billow in the breeze, stars catching the sun like defiant eyes.
A neighbor, old Mrs. Klein, peeked over the fence and nodded approval, unaware of the hidden red threads forming that knot. A symbol Thomas later confided in his diary represented loops closing on those who underestimate. As he folded it carefully for class, hope swelled. This wasn't just homework, it was a quiet declaration against being overlooked, a stitch in time that would unravel skeptics' threads one by one.
Why did Mr. Harlan, after grading the flag a mere B, later confess in private notes that nightmares of misaligned stars plagued him, as if the fabric itself whispered accusations? The presentation day arrived in Fairfield High's stuffy classroom, 1958's November chill seeping through drafty windows as Thomas unfurled his creation before 20 classmates, the flag's blue field vivid against the blackboard. He explained confidently, "With Alaska and Hawaii on the horizon, 50 states demand a new arrangement, staggered rows for harmony, ensuring no star overshadows another." Murmurs of admiration rippled. One girl, Sally from the cheer squad, clapped softly. But Mr. Harlan, leaning back in his creaky chair, adjusted his glasses and sighed. "Interesting effort, Thomas, but impractical. We have 48 states now, and your symmetry feels forced. I'll give it a B for creativity, but deduct for overreaching reality." The class tittered. Thomas's cheeks burned, the sting sharper than any needle prick. Unusual twist in that moment, as Mr. Harlan handled the flag to pass it back, he winced, a tiny jab from the hidden antique needle left tucked in a hem, blood spotting the white stripe, which he dismissed as a paper cut. Thomas packed it away, rage simmering quietly, the teacher's dismissal echoing like a betrayal in his family's long line of underdogs. His grandfather, a union organizer blacklisted in the 30s, had faced similar scorn. Back home, he stared at the flag, the hidden Celtic knot now seeming to pulse with purpose. That B wasn't just a grade, it was a gauntlet thrown, igniting Thomas's vow for payback, not through confrontation, but through proving the impossible. As snow flurried outside, he began plotting his next move, the fabric's edges sharp in his grip.
In the annals of American history, few realize that over 3,000 flag designs flooded Washington during the statehood debates. Yet one, born from a teenager's wounded pride, outlasted them all, carrying a coded message of defiance folded within. The rejection hit Thomas like a cold Ohio wind, but instead of folding, he channeled it into action that winter of 1958. At the diner, flipping burgers amid grease pops and jukebox tunes, he overheard patrons debating Hawaii's vote, a tropical paradise versus strategic base against communism. Inspired, he drafted letters at night, enclosing photos of his flag and a subtle note tucked in the folds. An old Irish proverb, "May your enemies' roads be uphill and their backs to the wind," scripted in faint ink as a whisper of resentment toward doubters like Mr. Harlan. Unusual detail, he sealed each envelope with wax from a candle his grandfather used in secret labor meetings, imprinting a tiny shamrock that under light revealed crossed needles, symbol of pricked pride. Mailed to senators, the White House, even local papers, his persistence grew amid daily life, helping his kid sister with homework, fixing bikes for neighborhood kids, all while nursing that quiet rage. His mother noticed the fire in his eyes. "Tommy, don't let one grade define you." But it did, transforming humiliation into fuel. As Christmas lights twinkled, replies trickled in, polite form letters,
but one from a congressional aide noted the design's elegant balance. The hidden code, unnoticed, lay dormant like a seed of vengeance, waiting for the right soil. Thomas refined his pitch, adding sketches of the flag waving over imagined state capitals, his payback patient, threading through bureaucracy's loom.
What if a schoolboy's subtle grudge, etched in invisible marks beneath the stars, unknowingly swayed a presidential decision, turning personal vendetta into patriotic emblem? As 1959 dawned with Alaska's admission as the 49th state, Thomas's hope reignited like a 4th of July sparkler. He reworked his designs secretly in the basement, amid dusty trunks and his father's war medals, adding an unexpected twist. Tiny ink dots under select stars, forming Mr. Harlan's initials in Morse code, a jab only he might decipher if fame struck. The era shifted. Kennedy's charisma on TV, civil rights murmurs in the South, but in Lancaster, Thomas balanced school with resolve. Persistent letters flowed to D.C., detailing how his 50-star array symbolized unbroken unity against global threats. Political debates raged in Congress, Hawaii's annexation debated fiercely, sugar interests clashing with military strategy. Thomas's package arrived amid stacks, but a riddle lingers. Did his coded proverb resonate with an aide of Irish descent, elevating it? Unusual detail, a freak blizzard delayed rival submissions from professional designers, his parcel arriving pristine as if fate conspired. At home he tested the flag on a makeshift pole, wind whipping it fiercely, the hidden marks glinting faintly. His quiet justice brewed. If adopted, that bee would invert to triumph. As summer approached, whispers from Washington hinted at selections, Thomas's heart pounding, revenge not loud, but sewn into eternity's banner. Imagine a White House aide sifting through flag designs in a dimly lit room, suddenly pricking his finger on an embedded needle that draws blood, unleashing a chain of eerie coincidences that propel a boy's creation to the forefront amid whispers of fate or foul play. As Hawaii's annexation as the 50th state heated up in 1960, with congressional debates echoing through marble halls about Pacific strategy against communist encroachment, Thomas's package languished in a sea of submissions until that storm. A freak nor'easter battered the East Coast, delaying couriers from New York designers and California artists, their elaborate entries waterlogged or lost, while Thomas's modest envelope, mailed from Ohio's heartland, arrived unscathed, as if shielded by some unseen hand. Unusual detail added intrigue. The aide, a man named Ellis with a penchant for superstitions, unfolded the flag and felt a sharp sting. The antique needle, deliberately left in a seam by Thomas as a talisman of pricked pride, drew a drop of blood that stained the edge, mirroring Mr. Harlan's earlier mishap. Ellis muttered, "This one's got spirit," as he set it aside for review, unaware of the hidden Morse code dots beneath the stars, spelling out a cryptic warning, underestimate at peril. Thomas, back in Lancaster, paced his room amid stacks of newspapers trumpeting statehood votes, his quiet rage evolving into calculated anticipation. He confided in a hidden journal, "If they adopt it, that bee becomes my blade, twisted slowly." But intrigue deepened. A rival design from a prominent vexillologist vanished from the pile overnight. Whispers in D.C. corridors hinting at misplaced files or deliberate sabotage, though no proof surfaced.
Was it coincidence, or had Thomas's Celtic knot woven a web of subtle influence, drawing allies from the shadows? As President Eisenhower's committee convened, Thomas's flag rose mysteriously in rankings, its symmetry praised, but the blood-stained corner overlooked, like an omen waiting to unfold.
Did you know that when President Eisenhower signed Executive Order 10,834 adopting the 50-star flag, a brief security flap erupted over anomalous patterns in the fabric, dismissed as artifacts but later tied to ancient symbols of retribution that some claim subliminally stirred national unrest in the turbulent 60s? The adoption ceremony in July 1960 was understated, the White House rose garden blooming under a clear sky as Eisenhower unveiled the new design, stars gleaming like eyes watching from afar. Thomas, notified by telegram, stood in his living room, the original flag draped over his arm, a quiet smile masking the storm within. Unexpected twist ratcheted the intrigue. Forensic hobbyists years later analyzed photos of the prototype and spotted the hidden thread pattern matching not just Celtic knots, but an obscure Freemason symbol for balanced justice. Had Thomas's grandfather, rumored a lodge member blackballed for Union ties, embedded it as a family secret? The flag first flew over Fort McHenry, site of the Star-Spangled Banner's inspiration, an irony that fueled whispers, stars aligning against historical doubters. In D.C., aides puzzled over the selection. Over 1,500 entries. Why this one? Ellis, the pricked aide, confided in memos. It felt destined, though he omitted the blood incident, adding layers of unspoken mystery. Thomas's payback whispered onward. Newspapers hailed the schoolboy genius, but he savored the private victory, the Morse code initials a dagger unseen. Yet intrigue brewed. Anonymous letters arrived at the White House post-adoption, claiming the design hid codes of discord, sparking a hushed FBI check dismissed as crankery, but leaving files sealed to this day. As the flag proliferated on poles nationwide, Thomas watched from Ohio, his quiet rage transmuted into beautiful vindication, threads pulling taut across the nation. What if Mr. Harlan's grade reversal to an A came not from pride, but from terror, after vivid nightmares where stars detached from the flag to chase him, a psychological echo of the cursed needle that some say carried real malice from generations past? Back in Fairfield High that fall of 1960, as leaves turned crimson like hidden bloodstains, Mr. Harlan summoned Thomas to his office, the adopted flag's image clipped from Time magazine on his desk. His face pale, hands trembling slightly, he said, "Thomas, I've reconsidered. Your project merits an A. The nation agrees." But in a private letter slipped to Thomas later, Harlan confessed, "Since touching that fabric, dreams haunt me, stars misaligning, pricking like accusations." Unusual detail amplified the mystery. The teacher had consulted a local psychic who divined the antique needle's aura of unfinished vengeance, tracing it to Thomas's grandfather's labor disputes, where similar symbols marked blacklisted names. Thomas read the letter alone, a chill running down his spine. Had his subtle jab manifested beyond intent, or was it Harlan's guilt manifesting? The reversal made local news. Teacher eats crow as boy's flag flies high, but Thomas demurred interviews, his payback patient, letting the story spread like whispers. Intrigue deepened when classmates reported Harlan muttering about haunted hems, and a school rumor mill churned tales of the flag's curse affecting doubters. One skeptic who mocked Thomas found his own projects failing mysteriously.
Thomas, now a senior, channeled the triumph into college applications, the hidden Morse code initials a secret talisman, its message of peril echoing in his mind as national pride swelled, unaware of the threads of resentment woven within.
We were wrong to doubt you. But the codes, what do they mean? Pleaded a historian decades later, unearthing Thomas's coded notes that revealed the design as a meticulously planned retort to belittlement, with twists tying to broader conspiracies of quiet familial justice. In the 1980s, as Thomas settled into middle age, a history teacher himself in Columbus, Ohio, archivists at the Smithsonian, preserving his original flag, stumbled upon the anomalies, faint ink marks, and the Celtic Freemason hybrid knot, sparking scholarly debates. Unexpected twist, a family heirloom auctioned after his mother's passing, a trunk containing grandfather's journals, disclosed similar symbols used in 1920s labor strikes, where coded flags signaled boycotts against exploitative bosses. A lineage of subtle retribution Thomas had unknowingly inherited. The notes, hidden in the trunk's false bottom, detailed his 1958 intent. The stars encode initials of those who scorned me, a constellation of comeback. Intrigue surged when a documentary crew interviewed him. Thomas reflected it was whispered victory, stitches pulling tight over time. But mysteries lingered. Why did certain politicians who received his letters report uneasy dreams during statehood votes, mirroring Harlan's plight? Some theorized the needle, forged in Ireland during the famine, carried a genuine folk curse, amplifying psychological barbs into tangible unease. Families of rivals claimed their designs were sabotaged by bureaucratic glitches, fingers pointing shadows at Thomas's web. The flag's legacy endured, waving over moon landings and protests, its hidden details perhaps subliminally fueling the era's upheavals, a beautiful, patient echo of one boy's rage transformed. In the tapestry of American icons, few grasp that billions have pledged allegiance to a flag infused with a schoolboy's grudge, its secret symbols potentially embedding a subtle undercurrent of defiance in the national psyche, unresolved and whispering still. Reflecting on Thomas's later years, he passed in 2015 at 74, surrounded by grandchildren in a home adorned with flag replicas. The echoes of his influence resound like distant thunder. He lived modestly, authoring local history books that hinted at unseen threads in destiny, never fully disclosing the codes. Shocking fact, modern analysts using UV light on preserved samples confirm the Morse marks, sparking theories that they align with star charts from 1958, perhaps encoding a celestial revenge alignment visible only during rare eclipses. The flag's global impact, fluttering in embassies, on battlefields, at Olympics, carries that quiet justice, a teenager's payback woven into freedom's symbol. Unresolved questions tantalize. Did the curse extend, with reports of Harlan's descendants facing odd misfortunes, or Ellis's family noting patriotic omens? Thomas's final journal entry mused,
This place
"Vengeance
always
isn't
reminds me of those
destruction,
quiet mornings
it's
back home.
creation that
The air feels
outlasts
just the same,
slight."
crisp and full of life.
Beautiful in its patience, his stitch cut deep, unraveling doubt into immortality, a whisper that America salutes unknowingly each dawn.
In the shadowed weave of forgotten slights and unspoken oaths, where the silk of retribution slips cool against the skin, soft yet edged to draw blood, lies our sanctuary, whispers of retribution.
Here each tale unfurls like a venomous bloom, chronicling the quiet fury of the betrayed, the meticulous dance of justice reclaimed, and the exquisite chill of payback that lingers long after the final whisper fades. If these stories stir the embers of your own hidden grievances, if they awaken the patient predator within, then join our veiled congregation. Subscribe now and let the notifications become your midnight summons to new narratives of elegant reprisal. Comment below with the echoes of your thoughts, the betrayals you've endured, the revenges you've imagined, and weave yourself into this tapestry of the scorned. Together we amplify the silence into a symphony of satisfaction, for in sharing we sharpen the blade, because true vengeance thrives not in isolation, but in the collective hush of those who understand. The most graceful revenge is the one they never see coming. Subscribe, comment, and let the unraveling begin.